There have been a lot of changes in the beverage industry over the last 30-odd years, and the folks at Spear have seen most of them, at least from a labeling perspective. The company provides a wide range of label solutions, and beverage is a large focus of their business. We spoke with Rick Spear, chief executive of the company, about trends and challenges in beverage labeling and how pressure-sensitive labeling is meeting those challenges. I'm James Krause, and this is Package Design Magazine. Rick, how has the beverage market evolved over the long term, and what are some of the challenges today?
20 years ago, before you had consumers that had brand loyalty, that were often the family used the same product maybe for a generation, maybe even longer. I think the consumer has become much more demanding, so you have a product cycle that has become, the life cycle can be very short, and I think that affects obviously the retailers, so they have to focus on newer things like better inventory control, and obviously it also that goes to the major consumer goods companies, who they have to satisfy the consumer and the retailers, and they have to turn their products over more quickly. They have to drive more cost out to offer more value to the customer. And I think the consumer good companies are under enormous competitive pressure, and unfortunately and eventually that also rolls downhill to the supply chain and a label supplier, who now we have to, in general, offer more innovation, better products, quicker turnover times, and everyone wants it for less.
So, a better product, more innovation, but a lower price.
It sounds a little challenging, doesn't it? Having said that, there is an exception, and that goes along with the area of promotions. It's an entirely different budget, and they're looking for something that's very innovative, where they want labels that glow in the dark, different promotional things to make their products stand out. There's more and more of that. There's more attention out there by the marketing and the designers. There's more questions being asked of us today. What's unique? What's different? We're very interested. Even if that costs more, we're willing to pay for that, because that makes us different, and we want to know what's new and exciting out there.
What are some of the advantages of pressure-sensitive labels over something more traditional?
One of the things about pressure sensitive is just film over paper. If you look at a paper label, it starts to disintegrate. It doesn't look as good, and the film holds up until you throw it away into the waste cycle. That film and the systems we're using, frequently laminated labels where the inks are totally buried. I mean, it looks, the quality of the label is 100% as good the day you throw it away as the day it was put on. I think pressure sensitive is at par with shrink sleeve. In the past, pressure sensitive usually is less expensive. The label cost can be similar depending on square inches. Of course, shrink sleeve gives you that 100% coverage. But then if you look at ACL or ceramic labeling, usually pressure sensitive is less expensive, and be able to add a lot more value in terms of the brilliance of the colors, the fact that you can do hot stamping.
So do you find companies starting out wanting to use something more traditional? I'm thinking about brands that label directly on a glass bottle called ACL. Do they start off wanting to use ACL but then are drawn to the advantages of pressure sensitive?
There's no doubt. Our first major success we had was actually with a product, it's called Bud Ice. The president of the company insisted on ACL. He wanted that look, and the design was that way. And they had done their market test, and they had introduced the product with ACL, and it was coming out of Mexico, but they ran out of capacity. We said, let us show you what we can do with clear pressure sensitive. We applied very thick ink, just like ACL, and we die cut the clear plastic right to the edge of the ink. It felt just like ACL. It looked just like ACL. And when we showed them the bottle, they were shocked and surprised, and we got that business.
So aside from durability, what are some of the other advantages?
We had another situation with Sol Beer that they were very concerned about changing it, and we were able to go with pressure sensitive, and on the back they did lots of promotional work. They had all sorts of flexibility and used lots of variables on the back label with pressure sensitive. They never could have done with the ACL.
So in terms of durability of pressure sensitive, is it always a cost trade-off? In other words, do companies have to spend extra in order to get that advantage?
Bombay Sapphire, which we do actually in our plant in Wales, they wanted to change their look. They stayed with the paper label, but they went to pressure sensitive because of durability issues. The cut stack paper label, they were having issues with the label staying on the bottle properly and not having wrinkles and the corners coming over. It was a high quality product, and they wanted that look. And with pressure sensitive, the label stayed intact and it held on better, and the quality of the package stayed intact throughout the whole life cycle. and they switched to pressure sensitive just for that durability requirement, and we're very pleased. And I think in the long run, I think realizing it didn't cost them any extra money.
That was Rick Spear talking about changing trends in the beverage industry and the advantages of pressure-sensitive labeling. You can read more at spearsystem.com. I'm James Krause for Package Design Magazine.